Okay, so once the bark started to dry, we're going to need to make some holes in it for our stitching. Now I've got a couple of little sample pieces here. Now traditionally with basket weaving, folk will be familiar with a bradawl or a awl. This is a rounded spike, nice and sharp, but this, as we pop that through the bark, all it's going to do is separate the fibres. Let's slide that through, and because of the nature of the way the grain runs in the bark, it's actually just going to send a split down it. So separating the fibres is no good. So this type of tool isn't what we're after. We're actually going to want to remove quite a big bit of material. So what I've got here is a crooked awl, but this square section, each of these corners are actually quite sharp. So as I use that on the bark in a sort of spinning motion, those sharp corners are going to drill out. You can see through there. Drill out and remove material. So it's not separating the fibres. It's actually cutting its way through. A great little tool if you've got it, but if you don't, an alternative tool I've used is one of these leather punches. So that's going to do exactly what it says on the tin. It's going to punch through the material, cutting all the way around, giving us some really nice clean holes ready for our stitching. And with this we can get quite precise, but only near to the edge. So the limitation is I could only run as far as I can get the tool onto. So for what we want to do, we could get down the sides of the basket and across the rim to a sort of certain depth, but we wouldn't be able to do anything deeper than that. Now a freehand tool that's going to allow us to get all over the bark is the reamer, or the awl on a Swiss Army knife. Same idea. This is going to help us to remove material with that cutting edge, ensuring it's nice and sharp, removing the material as we rotate it through the bark. This does work so much better on the drier bark, but it can be effective on the if it's still a little bit moist. So a couple of options there for popping the holes in the bark for our stitching: Swiss Army knife reamer, crooked awl with sharp square edges, or traditional leather punch. Once we've cut our holes, what I'm going to be using to stitch the basket together, the container together, is just a strip of the willow bark. And what I've done is I've removed the outer green layer, and I've just been left with all this tough, almost leather-like inner bark. Now this is dried just like these sections had, but then I'd left them in some water. Actually this got left overnight, and it's become really pliable. The advantage of drying it first and then rehydrating is in that first drying stage it's going to shrink, and when you rehydrate it and it dries again, it's not going to shrink as much, so it's not going to be pulling against the holes we've cut in the bark as tightly, so it's less likely to sort of rip them apart. Okay, in the next video we'll have a look at actually stitching the whole thing together.